So with a profile, we start with the circle, we go slightly beyond the circle, we chop off the chin, we come back up and we tack on the ear, and then we come from under the ear, we come out and we add a little bit onto the back of the circle and the top and come down. Now, notice that I added a bit on the front and I added a bit on the back. That relates to something called the 5, 6, 7 rule. Now, everybody's head's got different proportions, but a default is that the head is 5 eyes wide. Just drawing a little egg-shaped head here. So if there's our eye line, here's the center. The head is 5 eyes wide. So 5 units, that means we have to straddle the center with 1 unit and then divide what is left in half, like that, see? So this becomes the eyes, like a Lone Ranger mask there, like a mask. And so that is, the head is 5 units wide. The head is 7 units high, the same units. So it's higher than it is wide. So if I started drawing 7 here, so there would be 1, it's an odd number again, 2, 3, like that, see? So that is 7 units. It's 7 units high, 5 units wide. Now, you know, you don't count that while you're actually doing it, but it's just you recognize that it's higher than it is wide, you know? But then in depth, the head is 6 units deep, like this direction, see? So if we took the original circle and drew it in here, see, that would be 5 units, right? Because it's 5 units wide here. So we have to add half a unit to the front and half a unit to the back to get 6. See, so this is now 6 units. So we get 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, but half of it is outside the original 5. So it's the 5, 6, 7 rule, it's called. And we chop off the chin, come back up, tack on the ear, and et cetera, et cetera. So another way of looking at it is if we had a box like this, and if our box was 5, 6, 7 units, the cube here, then the head would kind of fit in there properly like this. You know, I mean, you wouldn't be meeting the edges because the head is spherical, but it sort of sits into that box, kind of like that. So it's high, it's deep, but it's narrow across the face. 5, 6, 7 rule. Okay, so back here to the profile now. If we draw a line halfway down, I was careful where I put the ear, so I'm going to have a little bit of the ear above. Nothing works out perfectly, so there's my eye line. I'm going to come 3/4 of the way. Here's half, there's a quarter, about here. So here's my corner of the skull coming down here. And of course that line isn't continuous, it's just a reference line. It doesn't continue through the eye or anything. Okay, then you go a short distance above here. No definition for exactly what that is, because it depends male and female. So you go a small distance above the eye line. You go halfway from here to the chin, halfway from this new brow line to the chin, and that will give us the bottom of the nose and the bottom of the ear, right here. So you can see we're getting some bands coming across here. Then we go, the last one is you go 1/3 of the way from the bottom of the nose to the chin, 1/3 of the way down, and that will give us the opening of the lips and the corner of the jaw right here. So the jaw goes more or less down here and then over towards the chin at that line.
Yeah.
Now, these things are not actually straight lines. They're actually ellipses, because if you look at the head, it's more like a cylinder, so these lines would go up and then almost horizontal, and then they go down. So, but that gives you just a moving target for understanding. This is simpler to get at it at the beginning. So then we draw the outer profile. So the glabella comes back like this, comes back in. The nose then pushes out. Here's the bone. Here's the septum, or the straight section of the nose. And here's the tip, like that. So, leaving that alone for a moment, we'll come back to the eye. So if you look at the brain here, so the eye does this. See, it does that. And then the upper line of the eye comes down. The lower line of the eye doesn't come quite as far as the upper went up. It's about a third of the eye is below the eye line, like this. Okay, so back here now, if we take this front of the eye down, that's where the lips end, right below that. So we put the tuck, and the tuck is created by the zygomaticus, right there. So then here, we bring the nose back, so here's the nostril line here, and that comes back into the face, and here's the nostril cover, like this. Then, underneath the nose, the spacer between the nostrils comes down like this, and it comes out and then in. See, that's the upper lip. That's the parting in the lip. So the lip actually, this part here, if I just blew that up, it comes out like this, around like this, see? And then the lower lip is usually inboard. It comes down, and then we come in like this to the area above the mentalis. See, so this becomes the muscle at the top, and this becomes the muscle at the side, and then the upper line of the lip comes up like this and down underneath this one, and the parting of the lips comes up here, and there's the tuck. So here now we roll out with the lower lip, and we roll back in like that, and then we have to add the mentalis, which was thought to be a distinguishing characteristic between man and all the other animals, as if having a chin made you intelligent. See, so this part here now rolls out like this. See, and that's the mentalis, that part of the chin. At the sides of the mentalis are the pillars of the lips, which is here, right here. And then the lip comes up, and you can define the vermilion of the lips after that. See, so the mentalis is right here. Now, there is an outer line of the profile, which is what I've drawn, the outer line of the profile. Here's the brow ridge, see right here, and then the actual brow is here, see? Then the head comes up and down here, and then back like that. So you just approximate that with however you can. So I usually relate the chin here, when I block in the chin, I usually relate that to the back of the skull there, see, as if it's somehow related. So now, the eye area here, we come just above this for the crease in the eyelid. See, that's the opening of the eye. We come to the brow ridge, like this. Then we come up towards the corner of the skull. I've got it a little bit far back. Come up to the corner of the skull. Then we come down to the eyeglass line and around here. So to me, that it kind of relates to drawing an infinity sign, but it's not really, you know? This sign goes up and across the brow and down the other eye. So this is the lacrimal mass here that has kind of a massiveness to it. Then we have the lower eyelid here, and this is now, what I'm working on here is the inner line of the face, of the profile. So right here is the cheek, and then it comes just almost touches the nostril, comes back here, comes on the outside of the zygomatic muscle, and then it comes down like that. So you see this S-shaped line here, and then up into here. See, so that is the inner line of the face. And that will look very different on different people. So the nose has, we'll come back to this in a minute, but the nose has three positive masses. It has the tip, it has the nostril here, then it has the tip of the nose here, which may have a little bean shape that comes over the top of the nostril, like that. And then here you have the bone, like this, and the side panels are kind of attached there. But even if you just look at the bone, so the bone, the nostrils, and the tip, so there's three positive masses. These are kind of hollows in between, like that. So these three masses kind of stick out like bumps. Okay, then here we get the eyeglass line, which comes up like this. So it's kind of like an S shape laying on its side. The zygomatic muscle, or bone, comes below that, comes down like this and aims for the nose, like this. Comes like this, and so there's the cheekbone, right here. The zygomaticus, which is the smile muscle, comes up from the corners of the lips, up like this. Actually, I'll come back to that. We have one more side to the nasolabial fold, which is the tear line, which comes like this. It disappears as it traverses the cheekbone, and then it reappears right here, like that. So then the smile muscle, or zygomatic muscle, comes beyond that and up to the zygomatic arch, like this. And so this is a little hollow that you will see on some male faces usually, because there's less subcutaneous fat there to close it up. And the masseter muscle comes from approximately this neighborhood of the change in angle, comes up like this, it disappears, and then it comes behind the eye socket and it becomes the temple around like that. So there's a big muscle up here, and it kind of relates to that. Now, I don't know that it's a continuous muscle or it's just a muscle system, but when you put your two fingers there and you try and bite, you feel them both contracting and popping. Now this smile muscle or zygomatic muscle, that's the only part that I'm concerned with, because it tells you about this hollow here. Also, this relates to dimples in the cheek. If, depending on how, when you pull this back and you smile, you might get a dimple right here, see? So, but right here, this is actually several muscles. There's one that does this, there's one that does that, and there's one that does this, see? Comes up to this point, right there. So there's actually several muscles, but this one is the only one you really need to pay attention to, because it works for smiling. Because you see, you can grimace like this, so it's this muscle, and you can go like that, and it's the bottom muscle. Yeah. So this way, that way, or this way, you know? Okay, so now the ears, so I've got it blocked in here, so the inside I go 1, 2, 3, that's all. And then I go 1 and 2 and 3 for the earlobe if you have one. Some people don't. If you look at, who's that guy, On 24, did you ever watch 24?
Yeah.
Yeah, who's the
The
star of 24?
I don't know the names.
Yeah, it kind of escapes me, but anyway, if you come up with a name and you Google him, his ears, they're so unusual. They go right down into the jawline, like they just are a straight line into the jaw. There's no lobe at all,
Yeah.
and it doesn't just go into the face, it goes into the jawline. Is it
to pay more
Michael
attention.
somebody, or, oh, I forget. His father was a big star. It's terrible, forget these people. But anyway, so that's all I do for ears, just that, you know, and then you can shade it, forget it, go back to doing whatever you do on the face. Now, the back of the skull comes down sort of between the nose and the lips. So if I took a line back here, that's about where the back part of the skull ends against the neck. It's kind of between the lips and the nose. Out of here comes the pillars of the neck, like this. Under here is if we look back at the brain case up here, that's where the throat relates to. So you draw the brain case and come back here and down. See, that's the relationship. The mass of flesh under the chin comes back here and up like this. And so that is shaded, and that's underneath the chin. Then we have the larynx and voice box. We have the ice cream cone here, which comes down. We have from back in here, we have the sternocleidomastoideus, comes back like this, and the pillars of the neck, which come here.
I can't see that.
Oh, pardon?
I can't see
Oh,
it.
sorry.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, so there's the back of the neck, or the pillars of the neck are here. The sternocleidomastoideus is here, or the suspenders, they come up here. The voice box and larynx, the ice cream cone, is right here, and that ends up at the pit of the neck. Now, where is the pit of the neck? A good default is the distance from the nose to the chin. Take that distance down, nose to chin. That's a good guess at the pit of the neck. If it's longer than that, it will appear to be a long neck. If it's shorter than that, it'll appear to be a short neck. So this distance here. And so the collarbones actually come upwards from here. And then we have the ends of the collarbones, which are the acromions. And then the back muscle will come from the line of the chin outwards. Then this mass here will be the top of the trapezius muscle, which then goes down the back. And from the pit of the neck, we come out here with the sternum, out here like this. And from the ends of the collarbones, we have the deltoid mass, the shoulder mass, which is right there. Okay, so now I'm not over the top of this, I'm down, you know, and so it kind of can look a little bit out of proportion, but that's what I've gone through is the general idea, you know. And if you're putting hair on a person, you tend to look at about half of the mass. So I'm coming up like this, coming back like this, over the top, and down and up here. So what I'm looking at, of course everybody's different, but what I'm looking at is about 50% of the mass of the head is hair. And I've added on here, and I've come out here, come down here. So the hairline will come back and aim for the side of the eye like this, and then down into a sideburn, and then up and over, and then down there. So I'm just going to shade this in, and it's all according to hair fashions and styles, but that's what I'm kind of looking at creating there, you know, like that. So this line here, coming up and over and down the eye and around the cheekbone here and back down, that is the inside line of the face, the inside line of the profile of the face. So it's an important thing as far as getting a likeness. You know? Now let's just look at the three-quarter view, because there's a few funny little things about that. So I'm going to just take these proportions across. Well, I can redraw them here. So here's a circle. The circle becomes sort of an egg, but it's lopsided over to one side here. Comes back up. We tack on the ear on the side. So that's all temporary. And we could add a little bit to the back of the head there. So there's my block in for the 3/4 view of the head. The chin, the bottom of the chin is over to one side here. Of course, it's not in the middle. It's over here because we're only partial rotation. So then the eye line will continue across here. And on average, you consider that halfway up. But like I said, males, sometimes you go higher. We'll talk about that in a minute. So there's the eye line. Now, divide this into half and then 3 and then quarters. So now we bring down the center line of the head to the middle of this chin line here. And then the corners of the skull will come down here and take you to the side of the chin, like that. Just to block in the neck now, if we look at our brain case or our original circle, we come down here and here is the throat. See, it's like that, and here is the back of the neck, like that, and it relates to the brain case. So what really happens here is if we were to cut the head like a melon back in that direction, cut it here, we have to recognize what the real section of the head looks like. So it comes, here's the brow, here's a bit of the brow ridge, it comes back like this, cutting through the mentalis, like, or sorry, the glabella, and then we cut through half. So all this line is it's a cut line. It's not one side of the nose or the other, it's down the middle. So then we have the bone, the straight section, the tip, like this, and we come back and we flip out for the lip, the upper lip, we come back in, we flip out for the lower lip, and we come back in, and then we have the mentalis. So this is like a funny looking profile, but what it actually is if we cut the head in half, like that, see? Like that. So then, on this side, from the brow ridge, we come up and over and down like this, and that is the eyebrow. So what it means is that the forehead pulls in and then sticks out for the brow ridge there, see, like that. And then it pulls in next to the eye, on the eye line. We pull in, then we put the cheek on, which sticks out here, and then we have the snout, and then we have the musculature of the chin. So we have 3 bumps here. See, we got the cheekbone, the snout, it's actually the nasolabium, and then a little muscle at the side of the chin. So 1, 2, 3 bumps. So if I were to draw the elements that are along this center line, the mentalis, or sorry, the glabella will come in like this, it'll come over the top, it'll come up like that, and then it'll take off for the other eyebrow, up to the corner of the skull, around and down, and then it becomes the supraorbital arch like this, see, over the glabella. I know I'm getting kind of complicated here, but so this part tilts back, the glabella tilts back. Then we have the bone. So the bone happens on both sides of that center line. The straight section is on both sides, the tip is on both sides, and the nostril is back here. See, so the thing is that if sometimes when you start drawing the nose and these other features, they actually get sunken into the face. You have to recognize that they're proud of the surface. They come out from the surface. So then here we get the philtrum, we get the spherical mass, and here we get the 2 masses of the lower lip. We come down for the vermilion line, and then we get the mentalis down here, and the pillars of the lips, etc. So all of that has to do with recognizing this section here. Sections are important things in drawing all kinds of stuff. And so if you cut the head like a melon here away from that section line, and then we loop down here for the eye. See, look for the other part of the eyelid here. And then the eye will sit underneath there, like this. So then, where's the eye going to point? So it could point abstractly forward, or it could look sideways, like girl with a pearl earring. You know, so she's looking sideways like that. It's not really a girl, but. Okay, so then after that we have the eyeglass line, the cheekbone, which heads for the nose, the lines of the nasolabial fold, and the corners of the lips here, which kind of head up like that. You know? So those are all, in order to understand how they work properly, you need to have a little bit of an understanding of these anatomical features like I've been talking about up to now, see, like that. Okay, too much information, but you can see what stuff you should go after. Let's
Yeah.
put it that way.
Yeah. It's really helpful,
Good.
because I could sit down and draw it from putting something in front of me and draw it, but I wouldn't understand why.
Yeah, that's right. And so
But if someone is different,
Yeah.
why? Where does
Yeah.
it go? You know?
So that brings me back to the Fry Gallery. And so I went down to a show by a guy named Nixon, Nickson, and he ran a school in New York called the New York Studio School of Painting, Drawing, and Sculpture. I looked up the school because I really liked his work. I could see, wow, this guy knows stuff, you know. I mean, it's funny, when you look at stuff in the Louvre, you figure, well, they knew stuff, but they were, it just was different, you know. So I could see the structure of what he was doing, and so I looked up his school, and one of the write-ups for the course said, this course will focus on creating an internal model, an internal mannequin, and that just instantly made sense to me, and that explained to me why I had had so much trouble, because I had actually had shows of the figure and watercolor, but I hired a model, see? And but for me, in the back of my mind, and probably most other people, the real test is, what can you do without a model, you know? How far can you go in drawing a figure or a face without a model?
Yeah.
And so I made little cheat sheets like what I'm showing you here, and these things, and I set about to memorize them. And so I would sit down at Tim Hortons every morning, 6 a.m. for about a year, really, and I would draw my way through these things until I could draw them without looking at the sheets, see? And I found a few interesting things would happen. One is, I could just glance at a group of people, and I could draw that group of people. One glance. I could look back at them and just refine what the hands were doing, and I'd look back again, maybe with the clothing or just other little features. So about 3 glances, and I could do a vastly better job than I had been able to do before by looking up and down, up and down, up and down, you know, which is usually what you do. So what that is your visual memory, because I had memorized 90% of them. I had memorized that much, and so I was only looking for the other 10%,
Yeah.
you know? So, and also when I went to life drawing, I didn't have to look up and down, up and down, up and down. I could just glance at it, say, okay, I understand that pose. I could throw the pose in, put the masses in, start to build it up. It really worked for me.
That's a lot of work, though.
Yeah, but,
Wow.
yeah, but I mean,
it's worth it, right?
it was worth it, you know? I mean, it just depends on how badly you want to achieve something.
Yeah.
And now it's harder when you got kids and that, you
Yeah.
know, but, I mean, that was what I did, and that's why I can do this, you know, because of that rote memory, that's all.
I hope I can do that one day.
Yeah, it's very much like learning to play an instrument.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
there's a lot of rote memory, so it goes into muscle memory, and then you can just do it and not think about it, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, how are we doing for time?
It's 7 minutes to 9.
Oh, okay,
8:54.
okay, so we go till 9, is it?
9.
Oh, okay, okay, so let's work on shading. Let's just glance here, first of all, at these. So look at, you know, the features on the head and the lips and so forth, and you can look at those and sort of reinterpret them vis-a-vis what I was showing you here, right? Okay, so let's leave that alone. That's something that you do. And now let's look at the shading, the last element here, which is how do we